Hello, my name is Jordan Sly, and I'm the librarian for psychology here at the University of Maryland, College Park, Maryland. First, let me welcome you to UMD, despite the strange and difficult circumstances we find ourselves in. Beginning a new graduate program is difficult in normal times, so now it must be doubly so. I hope you're still able to feel the excitement of beginning this new phase and embarking on your profession. This short video will give you a very quick overview of some of the library's main spaces, places, and people, but with an eye to what is currently possible in our heavily restricted mode of operation. In previous years, the Q&A section of the presentation was often the most helpful, so please do feel free to contact me anytime at jsly@umd.edu. Again, that's jsly, J-S-L-Y, at umd.edu, and I'll put a little thing here at the bottom with that. So we're going to take a look at the main library website. I'll show where the databases live, how to search for books in our system, talk a bit about our interlibrary loan options, and at each step explain the COVID method for access, right? How things have changed with this, with a real emphasis on how to get the material fast or to find workarounds. We in the libraries have been working hard to maintain a level of service through all of this, but there are some aspects of traditional library operations, such as materials lending, that have become very difficult. As you'll see, we have found workarounds, but it is worth noting where these obstacles stand in order to plan for your semester accordingly. In other words, it's very important to understand what it is we're dealing with as we head into this semester, to start thinking about what it is you'll need for the end of the semester. That's true even in normal times, but now even more so as we're dealing with long delays, shipping problems, mail service issues, all sorts of different problems at the moment. So, do keep these things in mind. And I know today is like the first day, and I'm telling you already that we can't help you and so on. Please take heed that the librarians are here, myself and my colleagues. We're all here to help with all of this difficulty, and we're all in sort of extra geared up mode here at the moment. So please do feel free to reach out to me and to us for other questions and things. And I'm more than happy to try to help you. There will be some challenges, I have to say, this semester in finding material. So please contact me, get in my email box, and we'll start conversations as early as possible for all of this. Okay, I'm going to transition away from camera, and you'll just hear my voice from here on out as I kind of walk through some stuff on the website. So it's very nice to meet you, and I hope to meet you in, like, for real, actually meeting you, not just talking at you through a strange little eye, unblinking eye that's staring at me. And yeah, I look forward to a future time where we get to meet. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is our website, lib.umd.edu. And this website houses information, collections, materials, etc. for all of our 8 libraries across campus. You can see all these listed up here. The main library is the McKeldin Library, and this is the home of the humanities and the social sciences at UMD. And this is probably your main library as well. Our other libraries house special collections, such as those within our STEM library, our art library, our architecture library, our archives and our special collections, and our performing arts library. As you can tell, there's a high degree of overlap in the material that you may need, and so things you may want to have are housed in different libraries across campus. I'll explain this further when we look at the catalog, but the material from any of the branch libraries, with the exception of the special collections and archives, of course, can be delivered to one of our libraries that's more convenient to you, including our branch library at the Universities of Shady Grove in Rockville. This is helpful if you, like me, are centered around a particular library or park near one, something like that, or live near one. You can simply indicate that you want to pick up materials there, and you'll be able to do so. This is a very helpful feature, I think, especially as we're all remote at the moment and operating in different parts of the state, country, perhaps. If you're living in Rockville, then the Shady Grove Library may well be a lot closer to you than College Park. So it may be worth trying to pick up materials there. Now, it's important to note that even though I showed you all of these libraries and everything, in order to search for materials within them, you don't have to click on these links. These links bring you to information about the individual library and some of our services and things within them. But in order to search for materials, you simply use what we call WorldCat here. This is our system that we use. It's called WorldCat. You use and search from here, or you can search using the advanced search, which I recommend. I'll go through this in more detail here in just a moment. I want to highlight a couple of quick things still here, namely this big yellow box talking about COVID-19. As I mentioned in my introduction, the libraries have been trying to adapt to the COVID crisis in the best way we can in sort of uncertain times, not knowing exactly what to do. You'll see listed a few different places that we're offering curbside pickup. So I will explain this a little bit more here in just a moment. But the first landing page for really anything you want to know about our response and the ways to still get materials is up in this yellow bar, and you can click this button right here, this link, Library Services during COVID-19. So you'll see a couple different places. It says McKeldin and the branch libraries are closed, and that's true, the buildings are closed, but services are still available, including, as I mentioned, curbside pickup for books, returning books, picking up books, using interlibrary loan, and some of our other scanning services and things like this. So closed is kind of a relative term, especially if we're taking a more expansive view of the libraries in general, which can include all of our online services and all. So don't worry about this so much, especially now that we're entering phase 2 of reopening, or we've entered it. Now we're well into phase 2 and we're looking at phase 3. The closed is again increasingly becoming a relative term. So I'll go through each one of these ever so shortly, but I just want to kind of make sure everyone is understanding where we are. As I said, we're in phase 2. This includes curbside pickup, but does not include public access to the buildings. So that's important. What this essentially means is that there's someone who can hand you materials, but beyond that, there's no access into the actual buildings for things like photocopying or scanning, or physical picking up books or browsing for books and things like that. So it's not ideal, but it is where we are at the moment. We also have a lot of access to materials through stuff like our HathiTrust Emergency Temporary Access Services, which I'll look at here in just a moment. We're heading in to phase 3, but we don't have a date associated with this yet. We're still assessing the safety concerns and everything. Okay, just a little bit more on the curbside pickup, as I know there'll be questions on this, and I want to make sure that it's clear. It's a very easy process. It's just a little bit cumbersome in terms of like back and forth with email and things of this nature. And it's 9 to 5 Monday through Friday kind of operation. So unfortunately, we don't have weekend hours for this, where we normally are open on the weekends in sort of normal times. I'll show you this when we get into the catalog, how to actually select all of this and do this step where it says select UMCP curbside pickup. This is a new option if any of you are returning from undergrad or anything back to UMD. This is a new option, but effectively all you do is select, and again I'll show you this in practice, the request item, which is normally how you would select something for interlibrary loan or through our USMAI borrowing. But from now on, it also includes curbside pickup. That's all you have to do to get started, is just select that as a button, and it will give you some options and things to select who you are and all this. That's essentially all you have to do from the beginning, and then you'll get a follow-up email in which you have to schedule an appointment. And I know all of this feels a bit silly, but we're keeping everybody safe through this. So again, we have windows in which you can make it a thing, and you need an ID and a face mask. Just as the email the other day from campus indicated, masks have to be worn at all times. A quick note on location. I don't know how many of you are familiar with McKeldin in general. I hope you've had time to come onto campus before all of this, when you were making your decisions and looking at schools and things. But I know that's not always possible. So it's a little hard to tell exactly where it is that you're supposed to go to pick these materials up. The only thing I can really say in this format, because it's difficult to show, is that it's not the main entrance. It's one of the side entrances of the building. So this is the main entrance of the library. This is where, if you've seen our big testudo, this looks out onto the mall this direction. So these spaces out here is the mall. The main administration building is down here at the end. The fountains are here, that kind of a thing, right? So this faces the sort of main part of campus. Around this corner, so here's Jimenez Hall here and Arundel Hall back here. So if you're coming from Stamp, which is up here, this is so silly, but this is where Stamp would be. You kind of come down the hill right here. So it's this little side entrance, and this Google map kind of shows it a little bit clearer, but it doesn't give you a very good zoomed out view. I can kind of walk you back a little bit. So we're kind of moving back towards Stamp. Here's Jimenez, and if we go ever closer, here's that main entrance over here. So it's sort of right over here to the side. So I hope that's helpful, and it's this sort of shady little back corner here. It's not a trap. It's where you pick up books, despite it looking like a trap, and that's how you do that. So that's the curbside pickup. Before we go too much further into all of this, I want to highlight a couple of things, especially that come up during the normal questions during these sorts of sessions. And an important one being, how do you access materials remotely when you're off campus? When you're on campus, everything is pretty authenticated and easily logged in. When you are off campus, there's a couple more steps to go through, but it's all very, very simple. Your sort of university password and ID, meaning the way you log into your email, that same password and the two-factor authentication app and all of that is how you log in to our materials here. So when you try to access something beyond the sort of surface level click, you can see some listings and things like that. But the moment you try to actually access the material, it'll ask you to log in. And this will be that duo-factor authentication app or system, however it is you've chosen to use that. That'll be your way to log in. But importantly, there's a couple of things to do that kind of make life a little bit easier. So anytime you click on a database, it'll ask you to log in. But another way that you can kind of search in the open internet as well as within our system is to use what we call the Reload at UMCP button. So in this little search bar right up here at the top, I'll highlight that. Go ahead and type in Reload. And then you'll find this button here, the Reload button. Now, all you do with this, as it says here for any of the browsers, you just take this and physically just drag it up to your bookmarks bar. And that's out of the screen for where I'm recording, but you just drag it up and put it in the bookmarks bar. Drag it and drop it in, and you'll have it. Now, the real benefit of this is that when you're off searching through Google Scholar, for example, or you're searching, just regular Google or however it is that you're searching, kind of out in the wild, this will allow you, when you come across an article from JSTOR or something like this that you haven't gone through the library to get to, you hit this Reload button, and it will reload with our credentials and all. And you'll have access to that material, provided that we actually have access to that material through our subscriptions. So this is a really helpful button, one that I use constantly. Whenever I'm doing searching, I use this button. One of the main takeaways that I hope you can get from this is that when you're searching for material, especially research material, as you get towards your dissertation, which is going to be highly specialized, we may not have everything that you're looking for immediately. So never pay for anything, at least without talking to us first, because there's a high likelihood that we can get you that material either through interlibrary loan, if you're having trouble there, or through purchasing, depending on the material. So this button allows you to kind of get some access into all of that, right? So if you find that JSTOR article that's perfect, but it says pay $34.95 in order to access it, try hitting this button first, and that will link you back to the library and help you out there. Now, quickly speaking about Google Scholar, there's nothing wrong with using Google Scholar. It's not quite as effective or efficient as searching through the library, which I hope we can talk about. If not today, then at a future session, some of the more advanced features on how to use all of this. But I do want to make sure that you all know how to do at least one thing, which is it is really worth your time to make a profile in Google Scholar. You can set some preferences and things that make life a little bit easier, recommendations, subscriptions to search term notifications and things like this. But one thing I want to highlight first here is if you're in Google Scholar, go to this little hamburger menu here and type or click on Settings. And what you want to do here is set your library links. And what this does is now when you are given your search results for your given search, if we have that material, it'll automatically link through. So it'll show up on the side that University of Maryland has this material. So you just type in University of Maryland and search. And importantly, it's going to come up with a bunch, and it's actually on the second page, and it's this one here. University of Maryland Libraries find at UMD. This is the one you want. It's on the second page of results, and so that's the one that you're going to want. Okay, going back to the main website then, lib.umd.edu. I want to quickly show you kind of where the more graduate level help is found throughout here. So you'll find when you come to this website, you'll be given a prompt to start a chat. This is for quick answers. If you just need help finding something, if you are having trouble with the website, having trouble with the service, something like that, please feel free to leave a chat in there. And there are other ways to find help as well, which I'll highlight here in just a moment. But these are all found within the help button here. Really, it's just, to be frank, it's just the Ask Us, which brings you to what is effectively a FAQ kind of a system, right? So here's some FAQs, or you could leave, it's essentially an email for the library that will put it into our chat queue or our answering service. So if you have a problem with something, you can ask the libraries there, or chat with us, as I mentioned here. But more importantly, I think, is this I am a button up here at the top, this link. And at University of Maryland Libraries, we classify graduate students as researchers. So as you can see, faculty, graduate students, upper level undergraduates, etc. Well, for all of the more in intensive services and things that we offer, you'll want to go through this portal. So go up to researcher. Now, again, unfortunately, much of our offerings are at least changed, and we're not offering the same services as we normally do. This is typically our place where we offer services through our Research Commons. And we are going to be holding a number of workshops and things throughout the semester. But again, often these are in person, and now they're going to be offered online. We offer things like our Common Quandaries workshop series. These are workshops intended to help with components of your research. So, for example, I'm going to be doing a session this semester on tidy data and managing your data, and sort of designing a project with data in mind and outputs in mind, things like that, and how to kind of work with that data in an organized way all the way through your project. I'm going to be giving that workshop. Other workshops are on things like citation managers and how to keep that sort of thing organized. So it's library-related graduate level skills that we offer throughout the semester. Through here, you'll also find things like our Media Lab, which is a recording space. And again, normally in normal times, we actually have a recording studio and so forth. But these are places where if you're working on a video project, you have space and equipment to do so. As well as podcasts and other types of media like that. And we also have our Spatial Data Center, including our GIS Center. Now, this group is available, but again, it will all be virtual. So if you're doing any kind of mapping projects and you need help with GIS tools and other sort of data sets and working with human data, things like that in this kind of a context, you can contact them. Additionally, we offer statistical consulting, and this is also available now, even though normally it's in person. These sessions are offered virtually, and you can still make appointments with them and all of this. You just click the schedule appointment button. This is a really nice service, especially for introductory students who are just entering and may need to take a stats class, or have statistical analysis, R programming, things like that as a component of their research, but not quite, either not remembering some of the ins and outs of how to do all of this, or need a refresher, or are still learning some of this and need some help, some extra support in a methods class or something like this. These are good people to talk to. One thing else I want to show you are our subject specialists. We have our subject specialist directory. There's a number of ways to get here. Again, I went through I am a, and then to researcher, but you can also go to help, meet your subject specialist, etc. And our subject specialist directory will give you the names and contact information for all of the librarians who can help you. It's usually best, I find, if you click the subject tab here, and this breaks it down by department effectively. Everybody who is associated with all of these different departments, they're the librarian who can help you with not only assignments and things like this, papers, organization, research, but also, again, kind of putting you in contact with some of the people for more statistical-based consulting or something like this. There is a librarian for pretty much every discipline here in the UMD libraries. And sometimes you may want to speak with, sort of a combination of us, and we're more than happy to work with you on that. When you click on a name, for example, it will bring you to that librarian's page. I clicked on myself as to not pick on my colleagues. And in one of these profile pages, you'll find all of our contact information, our physical location, which in normal times would be our offices located in each of the libraries. Right now is online, and so you can reach us primarily through email. Our phone lines are, again, our office phone. Some of us have our phones forwarded, but it's really best to just try email, and we could set up a phone appointment if you'd like. Like everybody else, I tend not to answer unknown numbers because they're all scams now. If you leave a message for me and give me a number, I'll call you back. But I try to just avoid those, so it's usually not going to happen. But most importantly, you can schedule a consultation with us here. And what this does is it gives you sort of my calendar for the rest of the week and when I'm available, so you could book an appointment with me at any of these times, for example. All of the librarians have this set up. So feel free to talk to any of us this way, to reach out to us this way. This is probably the easiest way, and a lot of students like this too because it avoids email back and forth. If you prefer to email me and want to make a personal connection that way, that's fine. We'll chat either way, and it will be a personal conversation. It's not a robotic thing, even if you use this schedule button. So please feel free to use any way that's best for you. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a couple of the ways to find information throughout our library system. From the beginning, this search bar right here, this searches everything that we have access to. And that's a big statement, and one that needs a little bit of a qualification. This holds everything that the libraries both owns, our physical books, articles and things we own through databases, but it also includes things we own or we have access to through partnering libraries, through the Big Ten Academic Alliance, through the USMAI, local Maryland university system, etc. Right? This is all the stuff we can get through interlibrary loan as well as through our library itself. So this is a powerful tool. It's one that's a little cumbersome to use, however, and isn't always the best for doing sort of capital R research. It's good for browsing. It's good for finding books. It's not really the best for finding articles. And the primary reason why is one of containers, right? So when you search in something like Google, you're searching sort of everything in the world, broadly said. And then when you're searching in something like Google Scholar, you're sort of searching with everything for within the sort of academic world, kind of more or less. But the caveat there being that Google Scholar isn't very discerning about the results that it brings back. So it does kind of bring you back everything, but that can often include some junk, bad journals from predatory journals, things like that, where they, pay for any old rubbish to kind of be published in their journal, that kind of a thing. So all of that can kind of come back in the search. So it really depends on your sort of search ability, meaning that you've put together a good search. That makes Google Scholar useful, but as a general browse and things, it can be a little bit tricky. Once you get here, now to the library site, now you're looking sort of within the library world, and so it's a little more curated, both through us at Maryland, but also sort of within that network I spoke of, all the other libraries. These are the curated and purposefully collected collections that exist, in each of these libraries from subject expertise and on. So it's a little bit better bet that you're going to find information that's useful. Not 100%, but better. So now you're within those worlds. When we get into the databases here in a moment, then we're going to be looking at a far more specialized field. And so the words that we use within these databases to search are going to be contextualized by the place we're searching to begin with. So I'll get into that here in a moment. But if I go back to the sort of basic WorldCat search, I can type in, as it says, books, journals, articles, etc. We can find whatever we want just from here, but I usually find it best to go to the advanced search. So go to the advanced search. We can specify if we want to search for an author's name, or if we type in something like, we'll just do good old Freud. We'll throw him into the search, and we can search either for the author, so books by Freud, or as a subject. And it really depends on what it is that you're looking for and the purpose of your search there. For the moment, I'm just going to look for works by Freud. So if I go to there, this will be familiar to all of you as an undergraduate. I just want to specify how we use our system here. Okay, so there's a couple of things to note. There's a lot of different access points here that can get confusing, especially at the moment where we're using our curbside pickup and all of this. So let's look at that here just for the moment. If we see this one, it says it's available at UMCP McKeldin Library, and it's also available as an ebook. We'll put an asterisk there, but we see that it is available. So in normal times, you could just go and pick this up as you normally would. But in the current COVID environment, what this means is that we can get this likely through curbside. Now we do have this little caveat of it is available as an ebook. And so we see that it's available through Internet Archive, for example, and it's free to read. So that's good. That allows us to get to it. Because that book is available as an ebook, we really aren't going to be able to get it as a curbside. Part of the restrictions with the curbside is that it has to be something that isn't available in any electronic formats. Because that other work is available through the Internet Archive and through Project Gutenberg and all, there's a lot of options available. You'll find that a lot with books. You'll find available through HathiTrust, through an ebook vendor, through a number of different ways, which is great. This will be especially true with books like by Freud and things. I mean, they're everywhere. But for this one, let's see, we'll go to future, the future of an illusion, and we'll do our request item, and we'll log in. Okay, and it will ask for our authentication, so go ahead and do that with your two-factor authentication. I'm doing that sort of off mic here as it goes. Okay, there we go. And it will say, where do you want to pick it up? So I can say UMCP curbside, that, and submit. And you'll get an email following this up to schedule a time to come pick up the material, that sort of a thing. It's really very simple, but it is a little cumbersome and it's not ideal, but it works for getting the material. Okay, going then back. Okay, going back out here. See a number of other ways to access the material. Again, we looked at our different ebooks, things like that. So really finding books shouldn't be too big of a problem, even in the sort of COVID moment. And it's pretty well assumed that professors too will be understanding about not being able to get a specific book at a specific time at the moment. So please keep that in mind. Now, a couple other quick things here in our WorldCat system. You'll see all these refiners on the side. This is very helpful for kind of limiting the types of material that you want to get back. You can see you can specify if you want articles, for example, all sorts of different stuff. We're still looking within Freud as the author. So, for example, I'm not entirely sure what Freud as an author of a computer file will mean, or as a CD. So I think these are kind of slightly... Okay, but now I'm going to come back out to our main page again. The catalog, is fairly self-explanatory. But again, if you have any problems as you go, please feel free to email me. I'll give you my information again at the end about how to get in contact with me. But that's the basic idea. The catalog, again, is fairly easy to use, but there are some tricky little things, especially with access at the moment. So please make sure to contact me if you have questions about that. Now, one of the most important places here is this Databases tab right here. So if I click on that and I go to Browse Database by Type or Subject, this is probably the most important link in the whole website, really. If I click on this, this opens up all of our databases that we have for all the different disciplines taught here at Maryland. Now, importantly, you can see, we can see psychology here, but it is important to know that most topics will kind of bleed into some of these others. Not all, but there's overlap between all of these different databases. So thinking a bit creatively and a bit nimbly through this can be a particular help as you're putting together your research. But I'm going to go specifically into psychology, and I want to show you the most helpful database that we have here, which is PsycInfo. Now, PsycInfo is categorized as one of our best bets. These are the databases that fall within this sort of yellow tab here. These, again, are curated by us to indicate which are the sort of best and most important databases. That doesn't mean that the others out here are not important. It just means that these are most likely to be the most important. So I'm going to go ahead and go to PsycInfo. It's going to log me in here. Okay. So now that we're at PsycInfo, there's a number of things that we can do here that I won't go through each individual thing. Spend some time on this on your own, and then please, if you have questions, happy to help. But PsycInfo is a very powerful database, and it houses an immense amount of material that we both own and don't own. So a big important part of PsycInfo is that it indexes all of the material in the field, more or less, that's important, and we'll tell you if it exists and how to get it, even if we don't have it. So you'll be able to order things through interlibrary loan, articles that we don't have access to, for example, straight through PsycInfo. So a couple of things you can do right from the beginning is there's a lot of options for your search that you can specify before you're even starting to search. One of the ones that I use all the time is methodology, right? And in here you can go through and select the type of article that you're looking for, the type of study that was done. This is particularly helpful for things like meta-analysis or systematic reviews, wherever that went, systematic reviews. And that can be, and literature reviews as well, especially, there's systematic review, literature reviews, systematic reviews, and meta-analysis. These are very important when you're putting together your research, knowing when you find those, what it is that you're looking at. And oftentimes when you're beginning searching in a topic, looking at these are particularly helpful. Even before looking at the individual studies themselves, looking at the sort of scope of the field can be a big help. This helps particularly when you're putting together the research. Additionally, you can select things like your age groups. So these are the testing groups. You can look at your classification codes, population groups, all of this kind of stuff, right? So as you're putting together your search and you know that you want to specifically look at males, in infant males, for example, as the group that you're looking at, you can put that together right from the beginning, and then you don't necessarily have to plow through all the literature that's not relevant to that population. However, as you'll discover as you go, usually building out into other populations is important for establishing some baselines in research and all of that. But that's a discussion for another day. Another important spot on here before we even get going is right up here, this APA Thesaurus of Psychological Index Terms. In health sciences and psychological research,
terminology is very important, so it's important to know specifically what it is that you're looking for right from the beginning. I have another video on how to use this that you can find on the LibGuide, or our research guide for new graduate students, which I've sent a link to. And that will help you with some of the ins and outs of how to actually use PsycInfo. So I'm not going to go into too much depth about each individual component here, just to show you that it exists. Same thing with searching here. The only thing I really want to show you is what access looks like. So if I just do something and I want to say, I don't know, I'm just making this up as I go along here, but intervention program, something, I don't know. And I click on this. You'll find a couple of different ways to access the material. You'll either see a button that says PDF full text. This means that we have this material straight away. You can get it right away very easily, and it'll open for download. We also have linked full text, which means that it will just take you somewhere else to get the full text, to just a different database. Once everything loads, I'm having a little bit of connectivity issue this morning. And then you'll find ones that we don't have linked access to. And this will mean we say find at UMD, and this will just bring you to where you can request their interlibrary loan. Simple, couple button clicks to do all of this, and it's very easy. Now, we've kind of sprinted through all of this. I don't really want to take up too much more of your time. This video is going on a bit long, but I do want to again reiterate that you can reach out to me, jsly@umd.edu. We can set up an appointment, even just to chat as you're getting going. You can tell me about your research, what it is you're thinking about, your advisor, kind of how you're getting started in the program, what classes you're taking, all that kind of stuff. We can chat a little bit about some things that we can do to kind of work around some of our limitations, all of that. I know in early classes, you're not focused as much on research, but this is maybe more about how to prepare for your semester, how to order materials early, start to look at the ending assignments for a class, and how to kind of prepare for that. So please let me know what I can do to help. I'm here. I'm not in the library. I'm at my home, but still, I'm here to help, and I'm more than happy to set up an appointment with you. So I'll leave it there, and I hope to talk to you soon. Okay.